I'm sure that every person here today has scrolled on social media and seen something or someone that makes them conscious of who they are or jealous of what they may not have, whether this is the house someone lives in, the place they travel to, or the way that they look. I like to think of social media as a giant funhouse filled with mirrors, and when you first walk into the funhouse, you're confronted with mirrors that stretch, shrink, and distort reality, and after staring at them for too long, you start to forget what you really look like. Social media works the same way. Every day we are surrounded by reflections of bodies, faces, and lifestyles that have been altered, enhanced, or curated. And without realizing it, we start to use these reflections to measure our own worth. Today, I would like to focus on social media and the effects that these online mirrors have on body image, especially among young girls, but also how we can step away from these distorted reflections and learn to recognize our own value. This issue is extremely prevalent for teenage girls today, with 98% using major social media platforms, up from around 92% in 2014 and 73% in 2010. Additionally, with 60% of teenage girls reporting body dissatisfaction issues linked to social media use, it seems as if this issue is spiraling out of control. When almost every girl is standing inside this funhouse and is there every single day, it's not surprising that many begin to believe that this is reality. The type of content consumed by girls online is a key factor in the development of negative self-worth. Constant exposure to content that pushes forward societal beauty standards and expectations leads to young, impressionable girls believing that their value comes solely from how they look online, or how they look in comparison to those online, and means they measure their worth based solely on their appearances rather than the quality of their relationships, personalities, and achievements. Body image isn't just about looks. It shapes identity and the ways in which people view themselves. And confidence becomes fragile when we start believing that it comes solely from how we look online. A key factor that's developed over recent years is the increasing use of photo editing and AI online. 58% of girls aged 18 to 25 reported feeling pressure to alter their images and enhance how they look so they fit in with who they see when they look online. And 85% of girls admit to using filters or apps to edit their images by the time they are 13. This is an extremely worrying statistic, considering how young these girls are. At an age they should be discovering themselves, many are learning that their natural appearances aren't good enough. These mirrors don't just distort anymore, they actively reshape reality. And when young girls grow up surrounded by these mirrors, it becomes hard not to question themselves. However, it is important to remember that a lot of what we see online has been enhanced or altered by AI software. But even when images are real, constant comparison damages self-worth, as it means forgetting that no two people live the same lives or are meant to look the same. The problem was never that we didn't match what we saw in the reflections, but rather that we ever thought that it was reality. So how do we protect our self-worth in a world that constantly tells us to compare ourselves with others? It may seem hard to ignore the pressures that come with social media. However, something as simple as practicing positive habits to improve self-worth have major impacts on confidence. Self-worth is defined as the sense of feeling good enough and worthy of love from others. However, social media often challenges this by encouraging us to use constant comparison and to rely on external forms of validation. Comparison is often described as the thief of joy. And the more we compare ourselves, the harder it becomes to recognize our own worth and our own self-value. Today, I would like to help explain some of the core components necessary to improve our own self-worth and inherently build confidence. Building self-worth is like stepping out of the funhouse. And when we come back into reality and look in a real mirror, we don't see perfection. We see someone who is already good enough. Firstly, it's important to recognize your intrinsic value, which means remembering that you are worthy simply just by existing, without relying on external forms of validation like likes from social media. Additionally, practicing self-confidence and self-compassion is key to boosting and enhancing self-worth. Something as simple as remembering to talk to yourself as if you were your own best friend, treat yourself with kindness and understanding, really boosts your self-esteem. Because if you wouldn't judge someone else for something, why should you judge yourself? And if you can't recognize your own worth, then you'll never believe it when someone else does. Numerous studies have also proved that practicing positive self-talk training significantly boosts self-esteem and confidence. It's as simple as not putting yourself down when you view yourself, as not speaking negatively about and joking about your appearance, and creating positive affirmations that make yourself feel personally empowered. Positive self-talk isn't about loving how you look all of the time. It's about remembering not to put yourself down and to treat yourself with kindness and compassion. Social media will always offer mirrors that distort reality and alter how we perceive ourselves. However, it is possible to use social media in a way that means that we don't rely on its validation. And to do this, we need to remember that self-worth is measured solely with yourself and not against others. Thank you.